Imagine this. You're on trial. The crowd is screaming for your head. Your crime? Asking too many questions. Sounds insane, right? But this was the reality for Socrates, the man who weaponized curiosity and paid for it with his life. Here's the wild part. He wasn't hated because he had all the answers. No, he was feared because he made people question theirs. And today, his secret, the Socratic Method, is still the ultimate tool for exposing truth, sparking genius, and yes, pissing off the status quo. Think about it. How many of your beliefs are hand-me-downs? Things you've never really questioned. Socrates knew this was dangerous, so he played mental jujitsu, flipping every answer into another question until his students doubted everything. Let me show you how it works. A young hotshot named Euthydemus strolls up, 100% sure he knows what justice is. Easy, he says. Lying, theft, injustice, period. Socrates doesn't argue. He just asks, what if a general lies to save his troops? What if you steal a sword from a madman? Boom! Suddenly Euthydemus is sweating, his black and white morals shattered. That's the Socratic Method in action. No lectures, no preaching, just questions that peel back layers of brainwashing like an onion. And guess what? You felt this. Ever had a moment where a single question wrecked your worldview? Why do we work 40 hours if machines do most of the labor? Yeah, that. But here's where it gets crazy powerful. Renaissance doctors used it to debunk medical myths. Lawyers use it to destroy weak arguments. Even the Supreme Court tests laws by asking, what if this happens? Yet most people never learn it. Why? Because it's uncomfortable. It forces you to admit you might be wrong. And ego hates that. But the payoff? Next level clarity. Think about it. What if you Socratic questioned your career doubts, your relationships, even your self-limiting beliefs? Warning. This isn't for the fragile. Socrates' students betrayed Athens. His questions got him killed. But here's the truth he died for. Growth only happens when you're brave enough to dismantle your own mind. So, ready to try it? Next time someone states an obvious truth, hit them with, what makes you so sure? Then watch the magic happen. And hey, if this hit different, do me a favor. 1, like this video so YouTube shoves it at more truth seekers. 2, comment Socratic mode activated if you're done accepting BS at face value. Because the world doesn't need more followers. It needs more people who dare to ask, but why? Stay relentless, stay curious, and as always, question everything. Why this version kills. Drama and stakes, Socrates trial equals instant hook. Relatable mind blows. You've felt this. Bold confrontational tone, no academic snoozing, direct audience involvement. What if you use this? Urgent CTA makes them engage now. Want it? More aggressive, more emotional? ILM, I'll tweak it live. Picture this, Athens, 399 BC. The city is buzzing like a hornet's nest. At the center of it all, a 70-year-old man with a reputation for making powerful people sweat just by asking simple questions. They're putting Socrates on trial, and the charges, corrupting the youth and disrespecting the gods. But here's what really scared them. It wasn't his answers that were dangerous. It was his questions. You ever had someone ask you something so simple it completely unraveled your thinking? That was Socrates' superpower. While other philosophers lectured, he just talked. And not in that boring, one-sided way. He'd look you dead in the eye and ask, but what do you really mean by justice? How do you know that's true? Before you knew it, you'd be questioning everything you thought you knew. Take this young guy Euthydemus, cocky, confident, convinced he had morality all figured out. Lying is wrong, he declares. Stealing is always unjust. Sounds reasonable, right? Enter Socrates. With a few well-placed questions, he turns this kid's world upside down. Is it wrong for a general to deceive the enemy? What if you stole a weapon from a madman? Suddenly, Euthydemus isn't so sure anymore. His neat little categories shattered. This is the Socratic Method in action. Not teaching, but untangling. Socrates called himself a midwife of ideas, helping people give birth to their own realizations. No grand speeches, No, I'm the expert here. Just relentless, humble questioning that exposes the shaky foundations of what we think we know. Fast forward 2,400 years, and this method is still blowing minds. Renaissance doctors used it to diagnose diseases. Supreme Court justices use it to test laws. Ever been in a class where the professor just keeps asking why until you want to scream? Thank Socrates. But here's the kicker. This isn't just for philosophers and lawyers. Imagine applying this to your life right now. That belief you've never questioned, that assumption holding you back. What if you turn Socrates' questions on yourself? Why do I really want this job? Who decided this was the right way to live? Warning, this is dangerous stuff. Athens didn't execute Socrates because he was boring. They killed him because questions like these change people. 2 of his students went on to overthrow the government. His method doesn't just clarify, it transforms. So here's your challenge today. The next time someone states something as fact, don't just nod. Ask one simple question. How do you know that's true? Watch what happens. It might be uncomfortable, might piss people off, but it might just lead you and them somewhere extraordinary. Because the most powerful tool isn't knowledge, it's knowing what questions to ask. And that's why, even after 2,400 years, they still can't shut Socrates up. Hit like if you're ready to question everything. Comment irony if you get why Socrates' death proved his point. And subscribe, because next time, we're taking this method to the modern world, and you won't believe where it leads. You know that moment when someone asks you a question so simple it stops you dead in your tracks? That uncomfortable silence where you realize you've never actually thought about why you believe what you believe? That's the gut punch of the Socratic Method. And it's why they had to kill Socrates to shut him up. Think about the last time you changed your mind about something important. Was it because someone lectured at you? Or was it because a series of questions slowly unraveled your certainty? That's the secret sauce. Socrates didn't teach, he made people teach themselves. He'd take your strongest conviction and with nothing but questions reduce it to rubble until you either built something better or stood there in glorious confusion. Here's the brutal truth most people miss. The Socratic Method isn't about being smart. It's about being brave enough to admit you might be wrong. While everyone else was busy pretending to have answers, Socrates wandered Athens, admitting he knew nothing, and in doing so became the wisest man alive. There's a lesson there that'll make your ego squirm. Let's get practical for a second. That argument you had last week, where neither of you budged an inch, try this next time. Stop making statements. Just ask questions. What would have to be true for your position to be wrong? How would you explain the evidence that contradicts your view? Watch how the dynamic shifts when you're not trying to win, but to understand. But fair warning, this is intellectual dynamite. The Athenians didn't execute Socrates because he was boring. They killed him because questions like these make people unpredictable. They turn obedient citizens into critical thinkers. They transform, that's just how it is, into who decided this and why? Here's where it gets personal. Every single belief you hold about yourself, your potential, how the world works, is either something you've consciously examined or something you've absorbed by accident. The Socratic Method is your tool for telling the difference. Why do I believe I'm not good at math? Who told me? That's impossible. What evidence would change my mind? The most revolutionary act you can commit today isn't sharing some viral post. It's taking one of your core beliefs and interrogating it like Socrates would, not to destroy it, but to see if it can withstand honest scrutiny. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. An unexamined belief isn't yours. It's just something you're carrying for someone else. They killed Socrates, but failed to kill his method. 2,400 years later, his questions still echo in courtrooms, classrooms, and coffee shops. The difference is now, you get to ask them without drinking hemlock. So what will you question first? That assumption about your limits? That societal rule nobody can explain? That truth everyone accepts but nobody has tested? Your move. The questions are waiting. The answers, those might surprise you. Imagine this. You're scrolling through your phone, mindlessly absorbing information like a sponge, when suddenly, bam, a question hits you so hard it makes your thumb freeze mid-swipe. Wait, do I actually believe this, or did I just never question it? That moment of uncomfortable clarity, that's Socrates, reaching across 2,400 years to slap you awake. We're living in the age of answers. Google knows everything. AI can debate anything. Yet we've never been worse at asking the right questions. We swallow opinions whole like vitamin gummies, never checking what's really in them. Socrates would be horrified. Actually, no, he'd probably walk up to you at a party and ruin your life with 3 little words. Prove that's true. Here's the brutal reality no one tells you. Every belief you have is either a carefully examined truth or intellectual junk food you picked up somewhere. The scary part? Most of us can't tell which is which anymore. We've built entire identities on foundations we've never bothered to inspect. Try this right now. Think of something you know is true, maybe about politics, relationships, or your own capabilities. Now channel your inner Socrates. What's the actual evidence for this? Who benefits from me believing this? What would disprove it? Feeling uncomfortable yet? Good. That's your brain realizing it's been running on autopilot. Socrates called this the discomfort before wisdom. That delicious moment when your old certainties crumble to make room for something real. Here's why this matters more than ever. We're drowning in information, but starving for wisdom. Algorithms feed us what we already believe. Social media rewards quick reactions over deep thought. And everyone's shouting opinions, but no one's examining them. The Socratic Method isn't just some ancient philosophy trick. It's your mental immune system in the age of misinformation. Let's get dangerous with it. Next time you're in an argument, try this nuclear tactic. Stop defending your position. Just ask, walk me through how you arrived at that conclusion. Then watch the magic happen as they either A, build a bulletproof case that changes your mind, or B, realize they can't actually explain their own belief. Warning. This approach may cause sudden bursts of clarity, loss of long-held prejudices, and occasional existential crises. Side effects include becoming annoyingly curious and developing an allergy to bullshit. The ultimate irony? The more you admit you don't know, the wiser you become. Socrates died for this truth, but you get to live it. So start asking, start doubting, start thinking, really thinking for yourself. Because in a world full of people pretending to have answers, the real power belongs to those brave enough to question them. Now, put down your phone and go ruin someone's comfortable assumptions, starting with your own. The hemlock's optional. You ever have one of those shower thoughts that stops you mid-scrub? Where suddenly you're standing there dripping wet, realizing some basic assumption you've carried your whole life might be completely wrong? That moment, that delicious, uncomfortable, world-shifting moment, is Socrates whispering across the centuries. Told you so. Our brains are wired for efficiency, which is just a polite way of saying we're lazy thinkers. We accept shortcuts, swallow convenient truths, and build our lives on, that's just how it is, until someone comes along and asks the one question that makes the whole house of cards tremble. That's when the magic happens. Here's what nobody prepared you for. The most valuable skill in the 21st century isn't coding, public speaking, or even critical thinking. It's the ability to interrogate your own mind, to take what you know and hold it up to the light like a suspicious banknote, looking for the flaws. Because in an age of AI-generated content and deepfake realities, the only edge you've got is your capacity to ask better questions than the algorithms can anticipate. Try this mental experiment right now. Pick any belief you hold dear about success, relationships, politics, doesn't matter. Now imagine you're Socrates, fresh out of hemlock and hungry for truth. Ask yourself, what's the weakest point in this belief? When was the last time I seriously considered the opposite view? If this weren't true, how would I know? Feel that? That slight dizzy sensation? That's your brain recalibrating. That's the Socratic Method working its ancient magic on your mind. The tragic irony of our time. We've never had more access to information, yet we've never been more vulnerable to intellectual complacency. We confuse consuming content with thinking. We mistake agreement for understanding. We've built echo chambers so perfect we don't even recognize them as prisons anymore. Here's your jailbreak toolkit. Next conversation you have, whether it's about climate change, parenting styles, or what to order for dinner, try this radical approach. Don't argue, don't persuade, just ask one more question that feels comfortable, then another, then another. Watch what happens when you replace, here's why I'm right, with, help me understand why you think that. Warning, this approach will ruin small talk forever. It might cost you some friends, it will definitely make family dinners more interesting, but it will give you something rare and precious in our noisy world, the ability to think, not just react. The truth Socrates died for? Real wisdom begins when we stop pretending to have answers and start courageously pursuing questions. So go ahead, be that annoying person who asks, but why? One more time than socially acceptable. Your future self, and maybe civilization itself, will thank you. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have some deeply held beliefs to go dismantle. The shower's running, and I feel a world-shifting thought coming on. Let me tell you why Socrates would absolutely hate the 21st century. Picture the old man wandering through Athens, asking uncomfortable questions to anyone who'd listen. Now, fast forward to today, we've got infinite information at our fingertips. But we've built entire systems designed to stop us from thinking like Socrates. Algorithms that feed us what we already believe. Social media that rewards snap judgments over deep questioning. A culture that values hot takes over hard truths. Here's the uncomfortable paradox no one's talking about. The more access we have to knowledge, the less we actually examine it. We've become collectors of facts instead of cultivators of wisdom. We can recite statistics but can't articulate why we believe what we believe. We've mastered the art of the opinion but forgotten the discipline of the question. Try this right now. Think of something you're absolutely certain about. Maybe it's political. Maybe it's about your own abilities. Got it? Now here's the Socrates special. Ask yourself 3 dangerous questions. What's the weakest link in this belief? When did I last seriously consider I might be wrong? What would it cost me if this turned out to be false? Feel that? That slight mental vertigo? That's your brain realizing it's been taking shortcuts. That's the beginning of real thinking. Socrates called this productive discomfort, the necessary friction that leads to actual understanding. Here's why this matters more than ever. We're living in the age of manufactured certainty. Every clickbait headline, every viral tweet, every polarized debate is selling you the same lie. That complex issues have simple answers. The Socratic Method is your antidote to this intellectual fast food. It's not about being contrarian. It's about refusing to let your mind be lazy. Let me show you how powerful this is in action. Next time you're in an argument, online or in real life, try this nuclear option. Just ask, what evidence would make you change your mind? Then watch the magic happen. Either they'll reveal their thinking is more flexible than you assumed, or they'll realize they've never actually considered being wrong. Either way, you've just upgraded the conversation from combat to exploration. Warning, this approach will make you unpopular at parties. It might get you unfollowed on social media. It will definitely make you question things you've taken for granted for years, but it will also do something remarkable. It will set your mind free. Because here's the secret Socrates knew. The truth isn't something you possess, it's something you pursue. And the pursuit begins with a single dangerous question. What if I'm wrong? So here's your challenge today. Pick one belief, just one, and give it the Socratic treatment. Interrogate it like it's hiding something. Be ruthless, be curious, and most importantly, be willing to follow the questions wherever they lead. Because in a world full of people pretending to have answers, the real rebels are the ones brave enough to keep asking questions, even when, especially when, it makes everyone uncomfortable. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have some deeply held convictions to go dismantle. The hemlock is optional, but the courage to question everything, that's mandatory. Create conclusion, 500 words, The timeless power of asking dangerous questions. Socrates never wrote a book, never built a school, never gave a TED Talk, yet 2,400 years after his death, we're still talking about him. Why? Because he mastered the one skill that outlives empires, outlasts technologies, and outsmarts algorithms. The art of asking questions that matter. We live in the golden age of answers. Google serves us facts faster than we can think of them. AI can debate any topic. News outlets and influencers bombard us with ready-made opinions. But this abundance has an insidious side effect. We've forgotten how to truly think. We confuse consuming information with understanding it. We mistake agreement for wisdom. We've built echo chambers so convincing we don't even realize we're trapped inside them. Socrates saw this coming. His entire philosophy was built on a simple, radical idea. The unexamined life isn't worth living. Not because it's immoral, not because it's unintelligent, but because it's not really your life. It's just a collection of borrowed beliefs, unchallenged assumptions, and inherited biases. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most of what you know isn't knowledge, it's intellectual inertia. It's ideas you absorb because they were convenient, popular, or never seriously challenged. The Socratic Method isn't about philosophy, it's about freedom. Freedom from mental laziness. Freedom from groupthink. Freedom to think for yourself in a world that's constantly trying to do the thinking for you. So what does this mean for you today? First, it means recognizing that real thinking is uncomfortable. It requires sitting with uncertainty, entertaining opposing views, and most painfully admitting you might be wrong. In an era that rewards quick reactions and snap judgments, this is revolutionary. Second, it means embracing questions as weapons against ignorance, starting with your own. The next time you find yourself absolutely certain about something, try this. Play devil's advocate against yourself. Seek out the smartest people who disagree with you. Ask, what am I missing? This isn't about self-doubt, it's about intellectual honesty. Third, and most importantly, it means applying this mindset to everything. Not just philosophy, but your career, relationships, and self-perception. Why do you want what you want? What assumptions are limiting your potential? Who would you be if you weren't afraid to question the script you've been given? This isn't just thinking, it's mental rebellion. Socrates was sentenced to death for corrupting the youth, but his real crime was worse. He taught people to think for themselves. That threat hasn't gone away. Governments, corporations, and algorithms still prefer citizens who consume without questioning, who conform without pushing back. But here's the good news. The Socratic Method doesn't require a classroom, a degree, or even a teacher. All it requires is the courage to ask one dangerous question. Is this really true? Then another, and another. Your mind is the most powerful tool you own, but only if you're willing to use it. So start today. Pick one belief, just one, and interrogate it like it's hiding something. Be ruthless, be curious, and most of all, be willing to follow the questions wherever they lead, because in the end, Socrates wasn't just teaching philosophy. He was teaching us how to be free. And that lesson is more urgent now than ever. The hemlock is long gone. The questions remain. The choice is yours.